Have you ever been so exhausted that you cannot stay adequately focused on an assignment? Or have you ever tried to go to sleep early but your body just doesn't want to? Or how come sometimes we are so tired but we still can't sleep? Throughout high school, college, serving missions, and being parents, we are tired. There's so much to do and just not enough hours in the day. We are constantly working on things to do and pushing ourselves to our max. How are we supposed to have the energy to do it all? Sometimes we go to bed at 8 p.m., and other nights we go to bed at 2 a.m. It's obvious that what we're doing is wrong, but how do we fix it? And why is it that those nights that we do try to go to bed at 8 p.m., we still sometimes don't seem fully rested? I have struggled with an awkward sleep schedule for all of high school and college, and I'm well aware of the difficulty it can be to plan a perfect sleep schedule. I have lots of experience testing ideas on what works and what doesn't work, and I know what we can do to help each other stay more awake throughout the day. I've also studied sleep patterns in school in psychology and math classes. Today, I'm going to talk about some of the best tips there are for getting the best sleep schedules possible. I'm going to discuss maintaining sleep schedules, getting the most for a few hours of sleep, and prioritizing. These few things will help us get the most out of our sleep just by planning. Studies show that better sleep directly relates to better grades, happier moods, and a better memory. It is also clear that the better sleep we get, the more energy we will have throughout the next day. We can all benefit from having more energy and a positive attitude. The interesting thing about sleep is that it affects every single person. All of us can benefit from a better sleep schedule. All of us love sleep, and all of us need to do a little bit better job to plan for it a little bit better. It's not a secret that sleep is good for us. After getting a poor amount of sleep, we can see the immediate results. Our eyelids are heavy, we are tired, our focus isn't as strong, and we are wanting to take that nap. Well, friends, you might be asking yourself, what can I do to maintain a better sleep schedule? I'm here to help. Although there are few things that are difficult about maintaining and creating a sleep schedule, there are some very easy things that you and me can do every day. One of the most important things about planning your sleep schedule is the word schedule. We need to actually plan for sleeping and not just get around to it when we're done with our daily tasks. It's so tempting and so easy to say, I'll just study for a couple more hours, or I'll just do a couple more dishes in the sink, or I'll do one more assignment, or maybe in reality, I'll just watch 1 or 2 more episodes of Netflix. We need to actually schedule our sleep in. That way we know it's time to go to bed and our day is planned accordingly. Sleep is our fuel. The only 2 ways we get energy in this life at all is by sleeping and eating. So let me ask you this. How can we justify on slacking on half of what our body uses as a resource of energy? Sleep is the gas to our car. When you plan for the next day, make sure you plan in there, go to bed at 10 p.m. or whatever time works for you. The best times to go to bed are between 8 p.m. and 12 a.m. and then sleeping for 8 to 10 hours. Something else we need to focus on when prioritizing is when we get our sleep. How come sometimes it feels like when we go to bed at 9 and wake up at 7, we're so rested and so energized, but then when we go to bed at 1 a.m. and sleep until 11 a.m., we're still exhausted? It's the same amount of sleep, so what's the difference? There are also times when you might be caring for a sick loved one, and you're staying up all night and maybe getting up every few hours or minutes to take care of that person. And the reason why you might be so tired when you wake up is self-explanatory. It's not about the amount of sleep, but it's about the quality of sleep. We can't just, even if we might be sleeping for 8 or 9 hours at night, if we're waking up every few hours or minutes to take care of a loved one or ourselves if we're sick, our body does not get the rest it requires to be fully functional. Quality is more important than quantity. Physically planning to sleep is a good start to a great sleep schedule, but you cannot go to bed at 8 p.m. one night, 2 a.m. the next night, and 11:30 the night after that and expect to be well rested and have adequate amounts of energy throughout the day. It's so easy to hit that snooze button. As a college student myself, I know exactly how tempting that evil little button is. I know that we need to plan 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night. As we strictly stick to this schedule, we will begin to see the results in a matter of days. Getting better sleep helps us focus on school, and it allows our allows us to be more alert and attentive, and ultimately has us in a better mood, which is something we can all benefit from. Also, when one receives a less adequate amount of sleep, it's easier to misinterpret facial expressions. For instance, when someone says a word or says a phrase to you, such as, please take out the trash, someone who was not as rested might take that as a rude or demanding task, whereas someone who is well rested just sees that that person is asking a task of them. So getting a better night's of sleep helps us better interpret other people's emotions as well. One of the great mistruths about sleeping is that we can just recover the next night. A lot of people think that if you got 4 hours less of sleep than you maybe would have liked, you can just go to bed 4 hours earlier and you'll be okay. That's not exactly true. A lot of times sleeping is kind of like the atonement. We get a brand new start every day. And we just need to do our best to get that 8 or 9 hours of sleep that we need. If we only got a couple hours of sleep the night before, we just need to start over and do the same amount. Sleeping more the next night doesn't help or make up for the hours lost the night before. Studies show that getting a proper amount of sleep is directly related to our memory. This is why you always hear growing up, get a good night's sleep before a test. However, it's even more beneficial if you get a good night's sleep many nights before a test. This helps you retain the information that you have learned about a particular subject. It's also important to go to bed early and get a good night's sleep the night you learn something new as well. This allows your brain to rest and really take in what it has learned that day, and it just helps you remember it better. Don't take my word for it, though. You can see the immediate results when you don't get a sufficient amount of sleep as opposed to getting a lot of sleep. There was a study done where two children were sleeping, and one child got an inadequate amount of sleep and one child got a very substantial amount of sleep. And the two children were tested on their reaction times, and the child who got the less adequate amount of sleep, it was clear that he struggled with the reacting and he was slower. So getting more sleep directly affects our reaction time and memory. We need to do the best we can to make sure sleeping is a priority in our lives. It's more crucial than I think we sometimes think it is. It's so important that we get as much rest as we can in our lives. As we apply these tips that we've talked about today, you will be in happier moods, you will likely receive better grades, and you will remember things easier. I hope we all can get a little bit better sleep and maybe become a little bit more responsible in order to get this sleep done. I hope as we do this, we'll have more energy throughout our day and will ultimately be in a better mood and become the best possible versions of ourselves. Thank you.